It's been a busy weekend for the Nashville Predators with two trades going down over the long holiday weekend. The Nashville Predators and the Tampa Bay Lightning have agreed to a deal that brings veteran defenseman Ryan McDonagh to Smashville. We'll talk about what McDonagh can bring to this Predators team, and we're also going to hear from Ryan himself. There was another trade that happened over the weekend that sent a fan favorite Predator to the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll talk about what the Predators got in return. And of course, we will have the latest on those Filip Forsberg contract negotiations. All that's coming up on today's Locked On Predators.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Predators, and thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I am Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at ontheforecheck.com, and I'm usually joined by my partner in crime, Nick Morgan. But Nick is off enjoying his last day of a well-deserved vacation. So I'm going to be flying solo today, but there is a ton of Nashville news that we need to talk about. The Predators were very busy over the holiday weekend making some trades, and we're going to break those down. The big trade news for the Predators, veteran defenseman Ryan McDonagh was acquired from the Tampa Bay Lightning over the weekend in exchange for forward Grant Mismash and defenseman Phil Myers. Phil, we hardly knew you. So we're going to talk a little bit about that trade today. Big news, I think, for Nashville. It's certainly not the news that the Predators fans were hoping to hear Nashville announce. Everybody is still sort of waiting with bated breath for some Filip Forsberg contract news. We're going to get into the latest rumors on that coming up later. But let's talk about Ryan McDonagh. This is a veteran defenseman that the Predators have acquired. He has played 783 career games. He was with the New York Rangers from 2010 to 2018 when he joined the Tampa Bay Lightning. He has won 2 Stanley Cups with the Lightning, which I think is huge for the Nashville Predators. 71 goals, 266 career assists, and a stat that I think the Nashville Predators always kind of make them giggle a little bit and like. He had over 1,550 blocked shots, which is something that the Predators, that's one of those little stats that I think impresses the Predators front office. An interesting situation surrounded this McDonagh trade. He did have a no trade clause with the Tampa Bay Lightning that he waived to come to Nashville. Nashville takes on 4 years of his contract at $6.75 million a year. The Predators are really getting a solid blue liner, and they're also getting veteran Stanley Cup winning experience, which I don't think can be overlooked for the Predators team. What did Tampa Bay get? Tampa Bay got forward Grant Mismash and defenseman Phil Myers. They also got, almost more importantly, some cap space. Tampa Bay has needed to clear some cap space. They did that by moving this contract. McDonagh was asked a little bit in the media availability over the weekend how the conversation went with Tampa Bay. He kind of sidestepped that. But we did get some insight into maybe what went down with Tampa Bay and McDonagh, again, who had a no trade clause on the Real Kuiper and Born podcast. Born podcast. They reported that Tampa Bay's front office went to McDonagh, said, we have a few teams that are interested in you. Mentioned Nashville was one of them. Allegedly, according to this report, McDonagh was not super stoked about coming to Nashville, only in the sense that he felt like they were maybe a little ways away from the Stanley Cup. But the front office of Tampa Bay, and again, this is an alleged report, said to Ryan McDonagh, look, if you don't agree to a trade, we are planning on waiving you, and we have an agreement with the Columbus Blue Jackets that they will pick you up off of waivers. So would you like to go to Columbus, or would you like to go to Nashville? Interesting inside look at maybe how the sausage gets made. And, definitely paints a little bit of a different picture. You can't fault McDonagh, and this is not any sort of hometown bias, because when you look at the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Nashville Predators, I think you can objectively say that the Predators are probably a little bit closer to getting a Stanley Cup or having a deeper playoff run in the next several years. And again, McDonagh is 33 years old. This is a veteran. So how many years he has left to pursue a cup? He's going to want to go with a team that's a little bit closer. Now, in the media availability, Ryan did share his feelings about coming to Nashville. We're going to listen to that in just a minute. So, how important is this trade for the Nashville Predators? All of the focus and energy lately has, of course, been on re-signing Filip Forsberg. But there are some glaring needs that this team has to address. And I think this is definitely one of them. This acquisition of McDonagh strengthens a defensive core that was at times a detriment to the team, especially, and Nick and I have talked about this quite a bit, that third defensive pairing was really a challenge most of last season and was something that the Predators were going to have to address. What you get with McDonagh is a blue liner who plays very similar. If you're looking for a good comparison that Predators fans will be able to easily relate to, you're looking at somebody who plays a similar style to Mattias Ekholm. Probably 2 seasons ago, Mattias Ekholm. I know this past season, Ekholm did not have his best performance, but you're looking at somebody who plays a very similar style of hockey, very similar game to Ekholm, more of a traditional blue liner. He also is an extremely physical player, and I know that that's something when Nashville is looking to acquire pieces, they're going to look for somebody who naturally has sort of that identity, physicality piece to them. And I think McDonagh fits that bill really well. I also think this is an important move for the Predators, not just to shore up the blue line, but I think that it could definitely be an important signal to Filip Forsberg that David Poile is committed to putting together a competitive team, that he is looking not for a long-term rebuild, but he is looking to put some pieces together right away. And hopefully that is something that is going to appeal to Filip Forsberg as they continue these contract negotiations that, so far haven't resulted in keeping Forsberg right here in Smashville. Coming up, we are actually going to hear from Ryan McDonagh himself. He was gracious enough to sit down for some media availability over the weekend and talk a little bit about his feelings on coming to Nashville and what he was looking forward to and his perceptions of the team. So we're going to hear from Ryan in just a minute. But first, want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by our friends at Built Bar. From the people who invented healthy and tasty comes the latest gift to your taste buds. You've probably tried the amazing coconut brownie chunk Built Bar, but they've done it again. Your friends at Built have given coconut brownie chunk the Puffs treatment. That's right, that flavor that you love, that coconut brownie, has now been made in a delicious, chewy marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. And I will tell you from scientific proof here in my own home, it is a hit. Coconut brownie chunk puffs are only here for a limited time and they are going really fast. So you're going to want to go to built.com now and make sure that you don't miss out on this great flavor. They are going fast because honestly, they taste amazing. All Built Bars, of course, are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently, and it provides tons of health benefits. So you can eat something that tastes good, but it's also good for you. And the best part about Built Bar Puffs is, of course, the amazing taste, and you can enjoy them guilt-free. So if you're looking for something to satisfy your sweet tooth, this is going to be a great choice. Or if you're looking for a really healthy snack that you can grab on the go this summer, you're going to get something that is an excellent source of protein. This is delicious coconut, rich, sweet brownie combined with creamy marshmallow, covered in 100% real chocolate. So go to built.com to order your box of coconut brownie chunk puffs right now. That's built.com. And when you're there, use our promo code LOCKED15 and you can get 15% off your order. That is promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Nashville Predators acquired Ryan McDonagh again over the weekend, veteran defenseman from the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Ryan was good enough to sit down with the media and talk through his decision to waive his no trade clause and what kind of enticed him about coming to Nashville. And again, like I said, there was this report later on that talked a little bit more about the behind the scenes conversations that happened. That was something that Ryan really wasn't interested in addressing during this media time, but he did talk a little bit about his perceptions about Nashville and what he thinks overall about coming to the Predators. So let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Well, obviously, the first thing that stood out to me was, I think, just where the team is at competitively. Anybody that's played Nashville knows the group that they have there, and how they've made the playoffs and been trying to be a contender to win the cup. And as a player, that you want to be a part of teams that have a chance to win the cup. And so when Nashville showed interest, it was right away a big point for me to realize that this group is like I said, competitive and has all the pieces that I believe you need to win a cup. You look through their lineup, they've got all the pieces and great character guys and guys that have been in the league that have a lot of experience mixed in with some young guys too, and a great coaching staff. So it had all the points there that you want to be a part of. You want to always be contending, making the playoffs and going on deep runs, and this team has it all.
I think it's really interesting to hear Ryan talk about looking at the Nashville Predators and saying this team has it all. That's probably a phrase that makes Nashville Predators fans maybe roll their eyes a little bit, because for so long, I think this team has been presented as a team that's kind of a complete package. Whether that's been accurate or not, that's sort of how this team has been presented to the fan base. And yet you're looking at a team that hasn't been able to get past the first round of the playoffs for several seasons. But Nick and I have talked about this before. When you really take a look at what the components are of a team that contends for the Stanley Cup. And there have been studies done on this. There are very specific things that Stanley Cup contenders have as a part of their roster. And for the most part, Nashville has a lot of those key components. Now, the addition of somebody like Ryan McDonagh strengthens things like a strong defensive, good, solid defensive pairings. So that's going to help. Now, am I saying that Ryan McDonagh is going to be the magic pill that takes the Predators deep into the cup run? No, we still are waiting on a number of other pieces that will help. But it's interesting to hear somebody talk about the Predators from the outside looking in and say, hey, what I can identify some pieces that are important to making a deep cup run. We'll see how Nashville does putting that all together. And again, let's face it, we're hanging on here waiting to see if one of those big pieces returns to Nashville. So, it's interesting to hear somebody say from the outside, again, looking in, I see some potential here. It's a whole other thing to get that to translate on the ice. And that's where David Poile and the front office definitely have to be wise in their moves to add those components together. But that's sort of how McDonagh feels looking at Nashville. He was asked about head coach John Hynes and sort of the style of play in the system that Nashville has here and what he's seen from Nashville before. This is what Ryan had to say about that.
Doubt. And you just recently with the Bolts, we played that great outdoor game against Nashville, and it was just a war. It felt like a playoff, and that's the way that you have to beat this team, Nashville. We ultimately won the game there, but like I said, it was such a hard fought game, and that's what Nashville brings. That style, like you talked about, in your face, not a lot of room on the ice, and you've got to earn every inch against them out there. So it does, translate well to me, a group I think that, takes a lot of pride in being hard to play against defensively, and no doubt has the skill up front to produce offensively, score goals, and talk about a great goaltender in the league. And Saros has been unbelievable since he got into the league. So like I said, I'm just thrilled to be joining these guys. Can't wait to meet them all and get started with them.
So it's been interesting to hear from McDonagh, his experience as a Tampa Bay Lightning player playing against the Nashville Predators. And again, he mentioned the Stadium Series, which was a really terrific experience and a really good game. Again, Nashville couldn't close that out, but McDonagh has some experience playing against Nashville, seeing their style of play. And I think we're going to find as the season starts that Nashville's physicality, their style of play, their hard to play against kind of mantra is going to be something that's going to come very naturally to McDonagh. And I think that is really an important piece for the Predators moving forward, is finding people who are going to buy into that identity really quick. John Hynes has had to do his work over his last 2-3 seasons to get buy-in from this team, to get everybody pulling in that direction. And I think the pieces that you're going to see Poile adding in are going to be pieces that are already bought in, where they've seen that style of play from them in their previous on their previous teams. One of the important aspects that cannot be overlooked when it comes to Ryan McDonagh joining the Nashville Predators is his experience. Of course, the Predators do have veteran experience on their team, but the Predators have exactly 0 players who have a Stanley Cup win until now. McDonagh won 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They were finalists again this year, lost to the Colorado Avalanche. We feel your pain. He's been in the league a while, and again, a style of play that is pretty complementary to Nashville. So he was asked about being a leader and having kind of that veteran presence and how he saw himself fitting in with Nashville based on that.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot. I mean, you got to go through some experiences as a team, thinking, you've done all you can and losing, coming up short. You really got to push yourself to the ultimate level. You really have an unbelievable sacrifice for your teammates. And like I said, probably put your teammates first before yourself. And as far as, role on the team, putting, like I said, just giving yourself up, giving up your role for the sacrament or the sacrifice for the betterment of the team. I think that's been the biggest difference is just finding ways to help your teammates out, help them be so successful, create a close-knit group, and make sure everybody's pulling in the right direction there. And like I said, I'm no guru, but I hope my experience can help this group and keep everybody motivated and hopefully do something special there.
Yeah, I really love that. I'm no guru. No, Ryan McDonagh is not going to come on this team and try to take over an experience. But I think that there is something very valuable about having somebody on the roster who knows exactly what it takes to push past just typical playoff play. There is regular season play. And I think everybody knows that when you get to the playoffs in the NHL, there's just a different level. And to be able to make it all the way through the playoffs and get to the Stanley Cup, that's a whole different level of play. And to have somebody who has been there, who has done that, who understands what it takes to get there is going to be really valuable for the Nashville Predators moving forward. So really like this Ryan McDonagh trade. We actually put a poll out on the Locked On Predators Twitter page to find out sort of how are the fans feeling about this trade? And it was really interesting. Response was amazing and very clear. 99% of respondents felt like this was a good move for the Nashville Predators. So overwhelmingly favorable response so far from the fan base bringing in McDonagh. Now, let's talk real quick about what did the Predators give up for this. We talked about the fact that defenseman Phil Myers and forward Grant Mismash were traded for McDonagh. Phil Myers, really interesting, short little season fling that you had with the Nashville Predators. He played 27 games, 1 goal, 3 assists. Myers came over in that really interesting is the best word I can think of. Ryan Ellis trade. Rumor is that Ryan Ellis was not looking to be traded, and the Predators brought in Phil Myers, and I think they felt like they had somebody who was going to develop pretty quickly into a good defensive piece, and it just wasn't. Phil Myers just wasn't a piece that I think was going to develop in the time frame the Predators were hoping for. At times, his game looked like it had some promise, but at other times there were just some errors on the ice that showed that he was going to need a little bit more time than what the Predators were hoping for. So Myers now heads to Tampa Bay. The other piece of that trade is Grant Mismash, who is a Predators prospect. Played 4 seasons at the University of North Dakota and then joined Milwaukee for 57 games, 6 goals, 6 assists. Mismash is a forward who probably was not going to see much NHL ice time for the Nashville Predators, even with, potential injuries down the line. I think Mismash was pretty far down the line of forwards that the Predators would be looking to call up to fill some spots. So I'm not sure that is going to be a huge loss down the road for the Nashville Predators as well. So we say goodbye to Phil Myers, Grant Mismash, welcoming in Ryan McDonagh. Now, Ryan McDonagh news was not the only trade news that happened over this weekend. So we're going to talk about another Predator, a fan favorite actually, who is headed to a new team after this weekend. And we're also going to touch real quick on the latest on those Filip Forsberg rumors. But first, with the ever increasing numbers of makes and models of cars and trucks on the road today, it is impossible for your local chain auto parts store to have all of the parts that you need for your car. Why go to a chain store and stand there answering endless questions while someone stands at their computer and looks up the few parts that they have in stock for your car? You have a computer with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. You can save time and save money when you use Rock Auto. Why would you choose to pay 30, 50, or even 100% more for the exact same part from a chain store or car dealership when you can save time and money using Rock Auto? Rock Auto is a family business. They've been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and their prices are reliably low for every customer. You can go to rockauto.com right now, and you can see all the parts that they have available for your car or truck. Right locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. There was another trade that went down over the weekend besides the Ryan McDonagh deal. A fan favorite, Matthew Olivier, headed to the Columbus Blue Jackets for a 4th round draft pick in the 2022 draft. This was kind of a surprise for people, although Predators fans haven't seen Olivier on the ice much recently. He's a very popular player among fans, kind of the OG herd line fellow known as the Biloxi Bull. He was born in Biloxi, Mississippi, and he is, just a little bit of trivia, the only NHL player born in Mississippi right now in the league. He played 48 games in 3 seasons for the Predators. He had 3 goals, 4 assists, and probably the stat that stands out the most when it comes to his time in Nashville is his 88 penalty minutes. So my counterpart at the Columbus Blue Jackets podcast reached out and said, "Hey, what can you tell me about Olivier besides he takes penalties?" And I thought, well, you might have hit the high points. But again, a fan favorite. Everybody really liked Olivier. This is somebody who played with a ton of passion, a ton of physicality, as again evidenced by the number of minutes he spent looking for snacks in the sin bin. He did also play in Milwaukee 46 games, 5 goals, 6 assists, and again, 76 penalty minutes. It really looked like Olivier was going to have a little bit more of a relationship with the Nashville Predators and earn a little bit more NHL ice time until Tanner Jeannot showed up on the scene and sort of took over that spot on the herd line from Olivier. And really, when you sit down and you compare these two, it's very obvious why Tanner Jeannot sort of eked out Mathieu Olivier when it came to that third line, that herd line. Of course, both play with physicality. Both are not afraid to mix it up. But you're going to see, obviously there is so much more offensive upside to Tanner Jeannot. You're looking at somebody who I think plays with a little bit more hockey IQ. Tanner Jeannot can play on a line with somebody like Matt Duchene or Filip Forsberg and really be in the mix. And I'm not sure that you would see that kind of offensive development from Olivier, regardless of time and energy invested in him. So this was one that I think fans were a little bit sad about. I think everybody's fondest and final memory of Mathieu Olivier will be the game in Milwaukee this season. It was the fish fry game. And if you haven't seen this, I strongly encourage you to look it up on YouTube because the Milwaukee Admirals were wearing their fish fry uniforms, which looked like red and white check tablecloths. And Mathieu Olivier took exception to something and absolutely pummeled the tar out of an opposing player. I mean, this player was just covered in blood, and there was Mathieu Olivier standing there in his red and white checked picnic tablecloth, absolutely looking like a brute. So I think that's going to be sort of how everybody remembers Olivier here in Nashville. But he is, again, headed to Columbus, and we'll see, what do the Blue Jackets do with him? Is he going to earn some ice time, some NHL ice time in Columbus? We'll keep an eye on that coming up next season. And of course, it would not be the off season if we didn't spend just a little bit of time lamenting the fact that there is, as of yet today, no announcement on a Filip Forsberg contract with the Nashville Predators. Y'all, this is like the days of our lives, like sands through the hourglass. So are the days of the Filip Forsberg contract negotiation. Last week there was a report out that said, hey, teams in the NHL are saying that it looks like a deal is going to happen between Forsberg and the Predators. Feeling pretty good about that. About 2 hours later, another report came out saying, things are not looking very positive between the Predators and Filip Forsberg. So this has been an emotional roller coaster. I'm certain for Filip Forsberg and David Poile, but also for the fans waiting to see if something gets done. Word came out over the weekend, again, an NHL insider saying that Forsberg's camp is looking at a number in the high $8 million range. David Poile's number is in the low $8 million range. And that's where things stand right now. Now, let me tell you something. If a deal does not get done with Filip Forsberg over something like $500,000, Nashville Predators fans are going to lose their hockey minds. There is going to be a rush on pitchfork sales and torch sales in Nashville, and it's going to get ugly down on Broadway if $500,000 is what stands between Filip Forsberg and a contract, especially because, let's be honest, there are teams that are probably lined up waiting with a countdown to July 13th, ready to offer Forsberg $9 million plus. There aren't a ton of free agents out on the market this season that are going to garner the kind of interest and the kind of dollars that Forsberg is going to garner, and people are going to compete for him. They're going to pay for, they're going to pay for Forsberg. So Nashville has absolutely got to get this done. And the idea that this is a $500,000 hang up is a little bit disconcerting. Now, the Predators have moved some pieces, so maybe they're making room for it. But here's where I'm at when it comes to Filip Forsberg's contract. David Poile, give the man what he's asking for. If it's true that Forsberg's number is in the high $8 million range, this is a gift. And if Filip Forsberg says, I would like something in the high $8 million range, you give it to him. If Filip Forsberg says, I want it delivered to me on a unicorn, you go out and you find yourself a pretty white pony and you put a fake horn on that bad boy and you ride it to his door with a signed check. Because some other team is going to snag Filip Forsberg up for a little over $9 million. And there goes a piece that the Nashville Predators have got to have if they're going to be competitive in the next, 3, 4, 5 years for Stanley Cup. So, we will keep you posted as we hear more. There are updates and rumors that seem to come out daily when it comes to this Filip Forsberg contract. And of course, when we get any sort of final word, we will bring it to you right away. That's going to do it for today's Locked On Predators episode. We thank you for making us your first listen of the day. If you are looking for me online, you can find me at ontheforecheck.com, where I write articles and updates on all sorts of things happening in the NHL and with the Nashville Predators. And you can find me on Twitter at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find the podcast on Twitter at LO_Predators. And of course, you can find us on YouTube. We'd love you to check out the videos there, like, subscribe, share, and we would love to hear from you. How are you feeling about the Ryan McDonagh trade? Do you feel like the Predators made a good move here? And where are you at on the whole Filip Forsberg situation? A lot of tension in Nashville these days, waiting not so patiently for that to get done. Again, thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Nick and I will be back tomorrow with a whole new episode. We look forward to seeing you then.